Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fayyaz Destara. I am from University of Mulawarman from the English department with my student number 230860305086063. I'm from class 2023B. So here I'm going to presentate my research with the title An EFL Student Experience in Learning Vocabulary Through Super Movies, a Psycholinguistic Perspective. Okay, we move on. So we first is the problem and the gap. The previous research has shown that learners can acquire vocabulary from audiovisual input, but almost all of those studies measure only the outcomes. Vocabulary, like vocabulary test scores before and after that. So what has been largely invisible is the internal event, the moment by moment cognitive and emotional experience of the learner while watching. Andrige and Gottfried noted that language acquisition depends on not just on exposure but on the simultaneous interaction of attention, working memory, and meaning construction. This is all happening in real time. So this study makes those invisible processes become visible. Then we move on to the methods. The method that I use this is the qualitative narrative inquiry design. So this is the most appropriate approach when the goal is to understand the live first person experience of learning rather than measure population level outcomes. So one EFL learners was selected through purposive sampling. This is a student at the Polytechnic Negeri Samarinda that study heavy equipment engineering, not English, whose vocabulary has been built almost entirely through informal, self-motivated exposure to super movies. So the data was collected through a semi-structured narrative interview when analyzed through combined narrative and thematic analysis. So this is producing five key themes. So the first theme is the self-regulated learning strategies. So the participant here developed a deliberate system writing unfamiliar words in the notebook, looking them up, reviewing them again, and using rewind function on the film streaming film or the YouTube to re-listen the missed words. In psycholinguistic, this is elaborative encoding. Each step adds a processing layer to the word, building richer semantic networks and more reliable long-term retrieval pathways. Writing a word alone demands selective attention, phonological working memory, and orthographic encoding. Multiple cognitive processes working in sequence. And the second theme is the role of subtitles and multimodal input. So the participant here use subtitles constantly. This aligns with the Mayer in 2021 dual channel processing that hearing dialogue while reading the subtitles simultaneously creates a two complementary mental representation of the same word. So this is stronger than either channel alone. However, the participant also recognizes over reliance. He's noted that I also tend to depend on subtitles. So this metacognitive awareness is significant. Montero Perez in 2022 and Russell in 2025 warned that permanent subtitle use may prevent the development of autonomous listening competence. Okay, then the third theme is the emotional engagement and character identification. So this is the most theoretically compelling theme. The participant recalls spontaneously and verbatim a line from Spider-Man in 2007. With great power comes great responsibility. So he gave the English phrase, the Indonesian translation, and the film title years after hearing it. He never studied that phrase before. He was emotionally present in the scene and it stayed. Heaver et al. In 2021 explained this is as affective memory enhancement. Words encountered in emotionally salient moments are encoded durably because heightened arousal strengthens memory consolidation. The participant himself said it's clearly characters and plot greatly help in remembering new vocabulary by providing context and emotional connection, making words easier to remember compared to memorizing them in isolation. The fourth theme, and this is the vocabulary retention and evolution of attention. Early in the participant learning, he was confused. English movie, especially the superhero movies, did not match the formal dictionary English he had learned before. This is what Hueric in 2032 calls a prediction error. This is a mismatch between existing schema and the incoming input, requiring extra cognitive effort. So over time, something important shifted. He said that the participant said, when watching films in the past, I focus more on the language. Now that my English has improved, I focus more on the storyline. So this shift is textbooks automaticity, as defined by Suzuki and De Keyser in 2022. Language processing become unconscious, freeing attentionally freeing attentional resources for higher order narrative comprehension. That shift is not a regression. This is evidence of genuine second language development. And then the last theme is the cognitive difficulties and processing challenges. The participant identify two clear obstacles. The first is the fast speech. The authentic English movie dialogue can reach 150 to 180 words per minute. For a learner whose phonological decoding is not yet automatic, this creates an attentional bottleneck. Words that arrive faster than the processing system that can handle. Second one is the complex plot structure. When narrative comprehension and demands peak cognitive effort, attention is directed away from vocabulary noticing, what Tang in 2023 calls that extraneous cognitive load, and the learner cannot simultaneously track a confusing story and notice new words. Then we move on to the discussion. So the three psycholinguistic forces. So the first one is the elaborative encoding. So this is through deliberate strategies. Each strategy transform a fleeting encounter into a multi-stage cognitive event. And then the second one, effective memory enhancement, this is through an emotional investment. So genre loyalties sustain attention across years, and emotional salience deepen encoding beyond what any neutral input could achieve. And then the last one is dual channel scaffolding. This is through a multimodal input like subtitles, visual context, music, and character expression. This together create a meaning construction environment that richer than any single channel. So these three forces are mutually reinforcing. Emotion sustains the motivation for surgery use, and then surgery use deepens cognitive processing, and multimodal input scaffolds meaning construction. So they cannot be separated. So here the conclusion is that this study super movies contribute meaningfully to this learner's vocabulary development, but only because he engaged actively, emotionally, and cognitively with the content guided by psycholinguistic mechanism that informal learning can activate just as powerfully as formal instruction. And that's all from me. I'm sorry if I'm making mistake in this presentation, and thank you for listening. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.